Even though a number of references have been made to the State of the Nation address and what the president did not say, he also said a number of things. And take a look at some of the things that the president touched on, which is going to be our next conversation. The State of the Nation address as presented by the president. From his perspective, my guests would also give their perspective of the state of the nation as we speak. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, let me state emphatically that we have not been reckless in borrowing and in spending. It is worth noting that the debts we're serving were not only contracted during the period of this administration. Mr. Speaker, we'll spend money on things that are urgent, to build roads and bridges and schools, to train our young people and equip them to face a competitive world. Considering the amount of work that still needs to be done on the state of our roads, the bridges that have to be built, considering the number of classrooms that need to be built, the furniture and equipment needs at all stages of education, considering the number of children who should be in school and are not, considering the number of towns and villages that still do not have access to potable water, I dare say no one can suggest we have overborrowed or spent recklessly. Yes, I've been in a hurry to get things done, and this includes massive developments in agriculture, education, health, irrigation, roads, rails, ports, airports, sea defense, digitization, social protection programs, industrialization, and tourism. We can be justifiably proud of the many things that we have managed to do in the past 6 years. As I go around the country, I hear the pleas for more roads, schools, hospitals, and as the rainy season comes, I wish, as every other Ghanaian does, that would have built more drains than we have.
Yes, so that's President Akufo-Addo, who indicated that he's actually been in a hurry to do a lot of things, reacting to that claim that he's been reckless in borrowing and spending, detailing a number of things that he has used our money for. But if you look at 2017, the public debt, and as we go on, you'll see some of these graphics on the screen. The public debt of 122 billion that he inherited. And between 2017 and now, the public debt, as we speak, as at November 2022, according to the Bank of Ghana data, is just about 575.4 billion cedis. Now, not all of that money was borrowed. The public debt has been increasing also because of the depreciation of the cedi, because of the external component of our debt, which is in dollar terms. So over time, when the cedi depreciates, our debts go up. And the quantum of our debt, our external debt, is more than the domestic. In fact, in dollar terms, our public debt is about $29.2 billion, held by various institutions and countries that we have borrowed from, China being the single biggest creditor of $1.7 billion. That's what you see there. Ghana's external debt holders as of September 2022. China, the biggest, you have the Eurobond holders, $13.1 billion. Multilateral, other creditors in the Paris Club. All these persons are currently being engaged by the Finance Ministry for the external debt restructuring after going or completing the domestic debt restructuring program. for us to be able to get the attention of the board of the International Monetary Fund for this $3 billion, and then also the policy credibility that we are at the IMF for. That is how the situation looks. This is the pie chart that represents our debt stock in dollar terms. 14.7 billion as our domestic debt, which has been majority of which has been restructured. The $29.2 billion is the external debt component, which is currently being restructured, or engagements ongoing for it to be restructured for us to get the IMF board's approval for the deal. Let me start off with you, Honorable Murtala Mohammed. The president was before you, our representatives in the House. I know you've been debating the statement. What has been the reaction so far?
Well, first and foremost, it is important that sincerity, candor, honesty matter in governance. And Prof taught us this, that in our democratic discourse, it doesn't matter how bitter the truth is. At any point in time, you need to state it as it is. The president appeared before Parliament to address the nation, as he's enjoined to do so by Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. And the reason why this thing matters in a democracy is that at any point in time, people must know the true state of the country. The Parliament is a house of the people's representatives of 275. What it means is that the president should have been addressing all of us. But you can't gather over 32 million people to address them. You do so through their representatives. And members of Parliament are expected, after this address, to communicate same to their constituents. And the reason why this thing is important, and I will speak as a development planner, that such information help people to plan. The president has a privileged position nobody in this country has. Nobody is clothed with the information of the economy of this country better than the president, or security of this country better than the president, our international relations and obligations better than the president. And therefore, when he is given the opportunity, he must be honest to the people.
The president wasn't honest?
No, I'll tell you. Even if his honesty is discomforting to him, he must tell us the truth. Because the information he gives us helps us to plan our lives for the next year. And that is why the Article 67 says that the president shall address the nation through Parliament at the beginning of every parliamentary session and at the end of that session. So within that year, we should plan. At the end of the year, he should also address us. What the president did there was shocking. Look, and I said on the floor when I was contributing that I love watching Cartoon Network, Scooby-Doo. If I didn't bring myself to speed, for a moment, I was drifted into thinking that I was watching Cartoon Network.
This is the State of the Nation address. You cannot say that with the president.
If the state, in the Cartoon Network, everything is possible. So you can even lie and go scot-free.
What did the president say that?
I will tell you. I would unpack them. If you read the 2022 budget, which was presented, 2023 budget, which was presented, the president told us through the Minister for Finance. Mind you, when the Minister for Finance is to read the budget, he says he's reading the budget for and on behalf of the president. That they created 146 factories under 1D, 1F. When the president appeared before us, he mentioned 108 or 106 factories. So within that time to this time, where are the other factories? Is it that they have vanished? The only response is that they lied to us. They lied to us when they were presenting the financial statement, and the president lied to us. And I remember when they said that some of us challenged them in our debate of the budget that those figures they quoted were not accurate figures. So that was the first lie. 2, the president also told us that he has constructed more roads than any other government under the Fourth Republic That was another legendary of a lie. What the president did, roads that they added bitumen, regraveling, he added all to give us the figures. You remember when he addressed SONA last year and he peddled that same falsehood? He was exposed and they never responded to when we exposed that the president lied to us in Parliament. The third lie. The president said, don't blame me. I inherited debt.
So the roads, I think he gave there some appendix.
Oh, they're all like, go and read. Go and read.
Where is the lie? Is it
go
the
and
feeder
read.
roads, the urban roads?
I say, go and read the budget.
Exactly?
Go and read.
I don't like this, but Honorable Mutala, when you say it's a lie, those roads do not exist, or they were not done. I want to know, when you say it's a lie, what do we mean?
Were you listening to me?
You said it's a lie. So is it that those roads don't exist, or they have not been done?
Did you listen to me? I said, when you say that I have constructed more roads than any other government, people expect you to tell that these are new roads I have constructed. But you can't do bitumen, regraveling, and you describe them as roads you constructed. That was a lie. And let me tell you to the third lie. The president said, don't blame me. We have this problem because I inherited debt. He said that. Prof, President Mahama met a debt of a little over 80 billion, which started from independence. And by the time President Mahama left office, he left a debt of a little over 140 billion. So what it means is that President Mahama borrowed a little over, 120 billion. So what it means is that President Mahama borrowed a little over 40 billion. This president has borrowed over 480 billion. And you look into our miserable faces and told us that the reason why we have challenges is because you inherited debt. What you have borrowed is several folds more than what you met since independence. Isn't that a lie, Honorable Kwenka? When everybody knows the facts, go and read the 2023 budget. Government has stated how much the debt portfolio of this country is. Now you have borrowed more than any other cumulatively since independence. And then you look straight into our miserable faces and lie to us that the reason is that I inherited a lot of debt. And that is the reason why we're having challenges. Again, the president also said that the problems we face is COVID. Prof, the best way to manage COVID is to reduce the number of lives being lost. There can't be any better way of managing COVID than reducing the number of lives lost. Is that not the case? Let's look at the figures. Nigeria as at September.
September which year?
September last year. 2022. 3,155 people lost their lives as a result of COVID. Ghana. 1,456 people lost their lives as a result of COVID. Togo. 275 people lost their lives as a result of COVID. I can give you Senegal, but let me just stop. Let me stop with this. If you take 3,155, if you look at the number, it's bigger than the number who died in Ghana. Juxtapose that against the population of Nigeria. And work it around even 150 million people, not even 200 million people. That gives you 0.00113%. Now come to look at Ghana. Juxtapose that against 32 million people. The 1,456 will give you 0.005%. Come to look at the 274 in Togo, against even 8 million or even 10 million. That gives you 0.003%. It means that more people lost their lives in Ghana than they lost their lives in Nigeria, than they lost their lives in Togo. Then yet you sit down to tell me that we manage COVID better than any other person. That's a lie. 2, none of our neighbors borrowed $3 billion from the IMF in the name of COVID. None of them. As a matter of fact, Burkina went in for just $20 million in the name of COVID. None of our neighbors borrowed over $300 million from the World Bank. None of our neighbors got over 150 million euro from the European Union. None of our neighbors dipped their hands into their state coffers, Bank of Togo or Bank of Nigeria, to take money. But in any case, we were told that we're given free electricity and free water. Free water was to everybody, but free electricity was to some consumers. I never enjoyed it. I don't think Prof enjoyed it or you. Once you had air conditions in your house, you certainly will not enjoy it.
Out of the lifeline bracket.
Now, let me, it's important. Now, we were given the thing, we were told that we are giving it to you free because we borrowed money in the name of COVID. We are now being made to pay that money in the name of COVID levy. We do not know how much the state spent to provide that for us. We do not know how much they have collected so far. Now, assuming that the state spent $20 million in providing us with the free water and free electricity, and with the COVID levy, we have paid more than $30 million. Wouldn't that amount to extorting the already extorted citizens? Correct. Yet the president had the guts to look into our face to tell us this. Again, it's important that the president also talked about unemployment. I mean, I was shocked. Now, if you claim that 1D1F has created so many or so much jobs, I did economics at the SS. You don't need a Professor Buckpin, he was my classmate. Okay, we were in the same study group. You don't need any economist to tell you that when you industrialize, your economy is supposed to grow. And once the economy grows, jobs will be created. Now, it is only under this government that you have a policy intervention such as 1D1F, that the economy is supposed to grow, yet unemployment is escalating. And the facts. Right. And just the facts. You inherited an unemployment rate of 6.8% from the NDC. I can see my time too. You inherited an unemployment rate of 6.8% from President Mahama. Today, per the census, which was conducted, supervised by the Statistical Service Board, who was appointed by this president, unemployment is 17.4%. Right. Youth unemployment is 12.6%. You inherited inflation of 15%. And then you took it to 54% plus. We're experiencing hyperinflation. You inherited debt to GDP, a little over 60%. Today, debt to GDP is 104%. You inherited a gallon of petrol, which was bought. The price of a gallon of petrol can no longer buy a liter of petrol. And the president wanted us to celebrate him, that we are now paying 20 cities, a little over, or 22 cities for that. You inherited. Yeah, can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? It's not factual. Can I finish? Can I finish? I'm saying that the president is. Can I finish? The president is now celebrating. I'm being very. Look, me, I'm a very honest person. No, will you allow me to finish?
You see, when you talk about the current price of petrol and diesel,
what have I said? Did you hear what I said? I said the president now wants us to celebrate. Listen to me. He wasn't even listening to me. Don't let emotions drive your reactions. I said the president now wants us to celebrate buying a liter of petrol at 22 cents, of course, which is below the gallon. I'm saying he wants us now to celebrate that. How long were we paying a liter of petrol, which was more than a gallon of petrol under the NDC? For several months. Today, you want us to celebrate the reduction that we are experiencing now. That is the point I am making. Every single statement I have made here contests the statement. Didn't you take inflation from 15% to 54%? Didn't you take debt to GDP from a little over 60% to 104%? Didn't you take the cedi to the dollar at 3.7 now to 13 cedis? But let me conclude on this. The president told us that we are producing a lot of food now. I think that I don't know who wrote the speech. And when you were delivering, I asked Kojo Upon Nkrumah, did you write the speech? Kojo said he didn't write the speech.
He told you that?
Oh, he said no. I mean, if he said no, what does it mean? Call him whether he wrote the speech. Now, the president says that we are now producing a lot of food. Let's look at the facts. Under the NDC in 2016, we were spending a little over $500 million importing rice and poultry products into this country. We are now spending over $2 billion importing same into this country. Now, isn't it shocking that 1D1F, which is so touted, yet unemployment is escalating? Then perhaps there is some voodoo economics somewhere. The president also concluded by saying that, yes, today is Women's Day. And I'm concluding on this. And he touted how he cares so much about Ghanaian women. When I was listening to the president, the one who came to mind was Ahmed Swale's wife. The woman who came to mind was the wives of the young men who were barbarously murdered in Techiman, who, by the way, the first deputy speaker said they were criminals when no law established that they were criminals. Those women the young men who were murdered by the instruction of the president, their wives are widows today, their children are orphans, the education of their children are truncated. The president was sitting there with the wife. Okay. The president was delivering the speech with the wife. Those people who were watching the president were asking, what wrong did our husbands commit that today we are watching you with your wife, your beautiful Rebecca, yet our handsome husbands were gone? It was a pretentious statement, and to be very honest with you, the president never mentioned sports in the entire speech. We lost a young man who died in Turkey, an outstanding player of the national team. Now, we thought, and everybody was watching, the president indeed perhaps has expressed his condolences and the state has supported. We were thinking that it was a platform for which the president to talk about sports when our women team are doing very well now, at least to use that opportunity also to commensurate with the family. The president never did so. To be very honest with you, it was boring, it was frustrating, and in fact, it was depressing. And you realize that some of our colleagues from the MPP started walking out.
Okay, Honorable Mutala, thank you. You have him also preceding that State of the Nation address with that statement that because of the exigencies of the time, is going to focus on the economy. And so a lot more detail was given about the state of the economy.
How would you talk about economy when you don't talk about corruption? He never mentioned corruption because the president and corruption are like twins.
We will go for this quick break.
The president and corruption are like Siamese twins. You can't separate them.
On key points. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. The Honorable Joseph Kpenka, no, you've landed. Respectfully. Respectfully. No. I will determine whether that seeding is approved or otherwise. Thank you. Joseph Kpenka, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, my preliminary remark before I delve into the matter is that nobody, and I repeat, nobody, including His Excellency the President, has said that.
Yeah, if you can take the paper off the microphone. Well, yes, thank you.
Nobody, including His Excellency the President of the Republic, has said that the taps of Ghanaians are flowing with milk and honey. Anybody who says so will be living in a dream world of his own. And nobody has created the impression that everything in Ghana, as we speak, is perfect. But the circumstances of the times, against the backdrop of performance of government, is what we should measure and determine whether or not, percentage-wise, government has performed well. Now, I am speaking to this and not my own fantasies in my head. If you look at page 4 of the State of the Nation's address, and I would like to, with your kind permission, just go through that briefly. The state of Ghana, as we have stated time and again as a government, we are saying that the crisis started in 2020 when COVID struck. Now, His Excellency the President, as I indicated, page 4, says that this is what I told this House on the 20th February 2020, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, in 3 years, we have reduced inflation to its lowest level, 7.8, in January 2020, since 1992. For the first time in over 40 years, we have had a fiscal deficit below 5% of GDP for 3 years in a row. For the first time in over 20 years, the balance of trade, that is the difference between our export and imports, has been in surplus for 3 consecutive years. Our current account deficit is shrinking. Interest rates are declining, and the average annual rate of depreciation of the cedi is at its lowest for any first-term government in the Fourth Republic. Our economic growth has rebounded to place Ghana among the fastest-growing economies in the world for 3 years in a row at an annual average of 7%, up from 3.4 in 2016, the lowest in nearly 3 decades. The international investor community has recognized this development, resulting in Ghana today being the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. The sovereign credit ratings agencies have upgraded our ratings and also improved the outlook for this year, notwithstanding the fact that it is an election year. This was in 2020. clearly all the indicators that my brother Honorable Mutala would now look at to be so gloomy a picture and paint as though we are at a point of no return were all in a very, very positive, unprecedented manner as of 2020 before COVID struck. So government is very clear in its vision that had COVID not struck, these figures would have improved and even the economy would have performed far better than it has done over the earlier period. But because of the exigencies of time, the COVID activities, coupled with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and then whatever the distortions that actually happened, then we had the economy reversed. And His Excellency the President, I would like to urge you to look at page 22 of the address. His Excellency the President is not unmindful of this. He says, and this is an admission, and I have seen that even when you were running the promo, there was an indication whether the President did not just present a very flashy and flamboyant picture of the economy, as though there were no challenges. If you read page 22, just the second but last paragraph, things may be there today. Things may be there today. Nonetheless, we must count our blessings. And I like this bit.
It's a family blessing.
Our petrol stations have fuel in spite of the difficulties. And we have been spared long, winding queues to fuel our vehicles. That is major. Our markets and shops are, by the grace of God, well stocked. We are not queuing and looking for goods that do not exist. And we have not been faced with the prospect of the rationing of basic necessities, such as fruits and vegetables. Our children's schooling has not been interrupted. We have continued to provide free senior high school, free TVET, and paid teachers and nursing training allowances. Our electricity supply has been consistent, and we have been spared the hardship of doing so during such trying time. Our country continues to be stable and at peace.
Okay,
This is profound,
okay,
and this is factual.
Let me ask you this.
It is profound and factual.
Joseph Kwenka,
Again,
so yes, it is indeed the case. But as you acknowledge that as well, do you take into consideration the costs of these present and existing facts for the Ghanaian people? I think that when you do that and you acknowledge the fact that yes, these are present, but the Ghanaian people.
I haven't landed. If you are allowed me,
respectfully,
because I read a portion.
Respectfully,
I was just about to speak to the
You were
issue.
moving on to something.
Yes, I was about to speak
so
to that
I just
issue.
wanted you to.
You see, point is this. For example, even if you look at the petrol prices, I have bought fuel at 23.4 cedis per liter. Diesel.
A liter.
Liter. That was the highest it went. I bought that.
This was last year.
Yes.
How much is it now?
And then I filled my tank, my V8, I filled it at 3,450.
That's filling your tank.
Yes, at that time.
That was
Today,
This was December,
when I
November.
walk to
How
the
much
filling
is it?
station, I fill it at 1,750 Ghana cedis.
Liter is how much now?
1,750, and a liter is
13 points.
approximately, some of the filling stations, in fact, Star, I checked, and it was about 12.60.
Okay.
So there's a massive reduction, and it's not accidental. It's not accidental. Again, Mutala, you see, in looking at the context of fuel pricing, when you were leaving government, you left us with a legal framework, automatic adjustment formula.
Did you ever agree?
You left us, hold on, you left us with a legal framework. Don't create the impression as if it is
you
this
ever
government
argue this way?
that came and created that particular one. It is, that law was actually enacted under the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Your argument was always that
Now,
the state can do
having
that.
done
Tax
so,
this.
and having deregulated the fuel sector, the determinants now became the OMCs.
No, it's
The
not
BDC.
true.
And the BDCs.
It's not
So
true.
that determined the prices
No,
generally.
it's not
and
only that.
as a result of that,
How about the tax
as a
buildup?
result of that, tax build-up is part. I agree.
you see,
45%.
Gentlemen,
Hold
hold
on,
on.
hold on.
Hold.
See,
Okay.
Honorable Mutala, when you are speaking,
So,
you are giving all
Joseph
the time.
Joseph Kwenka,
Proceed.
so let me state
This is not
this,
end
that
block.
on this path,
This end block argument.
hold on. There are three factors that determine petroleum pricing
Yes.
in this country: the currency,
Yes.
That is the
That's one.
currency differential.
Yes.
The cedi to dollar relationship.
Absolutely. I
And
agree.
then also the price of crude oil on the world market.
Yes.
The crude oil price on the world markets has actually been declining since October.
Yes.
Now, the last time I checked on Bloomberg, as at 4 a.m. this morning, it's about $83 per barrel, thereabout. Okay? The third factor is the taxes on the price build-up on a liter of petrol and diesel. We have about 12 different taxes on 1 liter of petrol or diesel or LPG.
And so many of them were also
Some of
abolished
them,
by the same
in
government.
fact,
This
some
government
of-
abolished so
respectfully,
many of the nuisance taxes.
Respectfully, some of them, you have CSOs who have raised questions about whether it should still be there. For instance, the price stabilization and recovery levy, which is supposed to kick in whenever price of petroleum products goes up. We've not seen this happen until sometime last year when it was removed for a couple of months. The special petroleum tax, which was imposed when petrol prices, that's crude oil price on the world market, went as low of about $20 sometime in 2014. It was supposed to last for a particular period. You promised that you were going to take it off when you assume power. The special petroleum tax is still in the price build-up. In fact, it's actually been increased. The margin has been increased. So why?
Yes. Alfred, my answer to you will be very straight. You see, it is very clear that the global economic picture is in a recession. There's no doubt about it. Not Ghana. Global. And it is actuated by several factors. And we are not living as an island. We're not living as an island. And so, to be able to ameliorate the situation and put things right so that we can fast track our process to economic recovery and etc., you have to take certain measures that will rake in more revenue. So if, as of now, we are saddled with the issue of domestic and foreign debt management and etc., and we are working on that with the IMF to be able to meet the conditions so that we can have the IMF step in to help stabilize our economy and etc. And then you go again in the midst of your extreme need, you go again taking out taxes that will bring in more revenue to help stabilize the economy and all that. You create further distortions in the system. So it is not as if government is intentionally leaving it there as a sadistic measure to inflict pain on the population. That's not it at all. Rather, it is meant to rake in more revenue to help government stabilize the economy. Remember that the Honorable Mutala stated, we've had free electricity for some level of consumers. We've had free water. All those ones we benefited, and at that time we hailed government.
No, we didn't.
So if we are now in difficulty, we must be ready to make some sacrifices as well. I know it is difficult. There is nobody, and in concluding, there is nobody, and I repeat, nobody at all who will say that everything is rosy. And I have not gathered that impression from this. But we need to count our blessings in the midst of all this. And as I always say, when we count our blessings and name them one by one as invest, and then many others, it will surprise many what Nana has done for Ghana.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is what I can say. Look, the President's State of the Nation address just reinforces our biggest problem in Ghana today, which is a leadership crisis. Leadership crisis. If you read the speech, I was like, this man is such... he ran away from all the facts. It's like President Trump. He was presenting alternative facts. Do you see that throughout the speech, he didn't acknowledge that this ditch we are in, the IMF and the World Bank warned us. They told us in the 2019 debt sustainability analysis. I want to read a portion. It says, look, and anybody can Google it. You can Google it on your phone.
Well, this is on the IMF website.
Yes.
So
it says going forward, that's 2019. So at the end of 2019, they saw the problems coming. It said going forward, maintaining fiscal discipline, building buffers, diversifying the export base, and exercising caution in contracting new external financing arrangements for infrastructure and other spending would be critical in making sure public debt dynamics be put firmly on a downward path. Opana rejected this advice and went on. He was reading those statistics. The context is that 2019 we had just come out of the IMF program, right? And the IMF had helped us. That's why you see all those statistics, inflation, this. It's because we're under their guidance, under their stewardship. You see?
Can it
so
only
you
be
see that the
credited to the IMF that we can't manage our own affairs?
We can. No,
so it's just the IMF.
That is it.
all these
because
gains between 2017 and now.
3-4 years we go back there. And President Akufo-Addo, look, listen, the thing that spells doom for him and shows leadership crisis, he said he needed just 18 months to turn the structure of the economy. When he came, when was the last time you heard President Akufo-Addo saying that let's produce more rice here, let's grow more this in chicken, let's rear our own chicken, rice, imports, chicken, oil, those things. He just
he mentioned all those in the State of Nation address.
Yes, now he's saying we'll do it again. He needs another 2 years. After spanning 6 years, he couldn't do it. So it just shows you the leadership crisis that we are in. It's a big deficit. Look, Alfred, let me end with this particular. You see, it tells you that, look, we need a conference on this democracy. We need to rethink, because you see him praising Parliament because Parliament is weak. He was exceedingly grateful to Parliament for passing the loans. Honorable Mutala, that is you people. You sit down, you make noise, but you pass. You sit down, you make noise, you pass. We are in big leadership crisis. We need to have a conference on leadership. We will change so that the philosopher king that you see, Plato and Aristotle talk, Socrates talk about, let's see how we can choose better leaders. If not, we'll end up the same.
Professor Emmanuel Asante also said the message says that all these loans procured during COVID that Murtala Mohammed ran through, they did go through Parliament. And what was Parliament's position on it? Did they approve this? Because the president couldn't have just taken those loans by himself.
So
Parliament also has to answer questions on this.
If I can quickly answer, because specifically to me, the loans, there is nothing wrong with going in for loans. Right. But what you have been able to do with the loans, with all the things they have borrowed, as stated, President Mohammed borrowed 40 billion. Here, circle interchange is there.
Is this about, I think you've mixed up that. So at 2013, the public debt was 35 billion, right? So now it went up to 122 billion as at the end of.
In fact, about 480 billion have been borrowed by this government.
So it's 80 billion difference between 20. I think that's.
I'm saying that 480 billion over have been borrowed by this government.
Well, thank you very much. I think you've given all the time to them, and
you said
little to say.
You said I should see. You said I should see.
So I think that what we should all agree is that we are in difficult times, very difficult times.
Self-inflicted.
And SONA must be filled with candor, touching on what has been done and the challenges that we face, with the view to carrying all of us along in helping duty bearers to steer us out of this quagmire. SONAs are not expected to rather be listened to and make people confused and angry. I listened to the president, and after 66 years of independence, we do not even know how to admit wrongdoing. We can't even say that, look, we did this right, but here we erred, and these are the things we are doing differently to correct the errors. We can't even do that. We are blaming all other factors external to us other than ourselves. I listened to it, and it made me sad, because I thought the president had an excellent opportunity during the SONA to carry all of us as citizens behind him so that we all assist. I mean, what will hurt if the president comes to tell Ghanaians that, fellow Ghanaians, times are hard. We ourselves contributed to the hardships, but I also blame some on COVID and external crisis. But these are the kinds of things that we are doing to right the wrongs that we did. And we expect you all to follow us or to support us. I mean, when you do that, you soften people's stance, and then you whip up that the need for us to be united behind you. You whip up that sentiment of patriotism and nationalism among Ghanaians. But I listened to the president. After listening to the president,
I was sad. I was also angry
depressed.
because I thought that the statement was not filled with the
Right.
needed candor. And I was thinking that whoever did that write-up for the president did a great disservice to the president
Kojo
and then
did-
also
Kojo didn't
a
write.
great disservice to the nation. It didn't go well. It's
Right.
not. It was supposed to be an opportunity for the president to rally all of us behind him by accepting, admitting. You see, at age 66, as after independence, we should also learn how to admit wrongdoing.
Right. Professor
On-
Ransford
on the-
Jampo,
on the
thank
issue
you.
of- on
And
the
I don't
issue
have
of not admit- you know
he is
the Auditor General's
a
report
professor of political
on the
science.
COVID thing.
Professor Ransford Jampo, the University of Ghana Political Science Department. Prof, as always, thank you so much. Member of Parliament for the Tamale Central Constituency, who is also a student of Professor Jampo. The Honorable Murtala Mohammed, thank you for joining us. Also, Martin Bebo is a private legal practitioner. Thank you so much. Joseph Kwenka is a former Deputy Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, as Minister of Justice as well, and a former Member of Parliament who is lacing his boots to get back into Parliament, from what I understand.
Coming back.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your company as always. For those of you on 3FM 92.7, and remember, we are mourning the death of our colleague, Francis Boche. Today, he was a member of the Key Point crew every day here at the camera department. On behalf of the group CEO and management and staff, we thank you all for mourning with us. I am Alfred Okanse. Have a great weekend.